Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Butch Chester. You guys know who I am, and you know what I like to do on my show. Say it with me. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a small forest on a fire. And that's what we want to do today. We want to get you fired up about the topic. Today, I'll be talking about gathering what God grew in you. So, you know what I'm going to tell you to do? Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea because we are about to get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Butch Chester. I am really excited about this time of year because Thanksgiving is just a few days away. And be it that you are celebrating Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, or just a gathering of those that you like, love, and care for, I want to wish you a very wonderful and beautiful day. In this particular episode, we are going to talk about reflection, about slowing down just long enough to notice what God has been growing in you, even when life feels silent or uncertain. Today's conversation is called Gathering What God Grew in You for a Reason. And I want you to think about the word gathering today. Gathering isn't rushing, it isn't forcing, it's gently collecting what is already ready. The fruits, the lessons, the healing, the insights, the friends, the family members, those bits and pieces that make up the whole. Let's talk about what's been maturing in your spirit this year. Something without you even realizing it, perhaps. Our scripture for today is Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not grow weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we do not faint. That's what we're doing today. That's where we are today. Our due season. Recognizing the season you're in, that's the first step, and it's also an important one. Every season of life carries both visual and hidden growth. Visual growth is the thing that not only do you see it, but oftentimes those around you see it as well. Visual growth is the equivalent of when you're trying to lose weight and you've been working out and you've been doing a really great job and you lose 15 pounds and people start to say, you look great. What are you doing? Or your skin looks amazing. What have you been doing? And you've been using some type of beauty regimen every night, right? It's the little things that have accumulated into something quite noticeable, hence the visible growth. Now, the hidden growth is those moments where you yourself have had an aha moment. You have come to the realization of what's going on. You have put two and two together to make four. You are no longer scratching your head trying to figure it out. You no longer have the pieces of paper strewn about the floor. Oh no. They are gathered together nicely, neatly, and now they tell a story. That hidden growth is the growth that happens internally that you may not even share with others, but it is 1000% happening. Then there is how God often matures us in the background before revealing what's been planted. Far too often, God has to do some work in us before He's able to reveal the entire plan. Sure, we may have prayed for it. We may have fasted for it. We may have told someone else to please help us pray, and we touch and agreed about it. But there's still a little something that needs to be done in you before it can come to its fullest. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. The other is the harvest. The harvest isn't always a promotion or a breakthrough. It can be a peace, it can be a closure, it can be just the gaining of wisdom. Far too often, we think that the harvest has to be something that therefore equals a payoff or a payday, that it has to equal the abundance of selling your produce and reaping a reward. But sometimes your reward is peace of mind, it's clarity, it's closure. It's the wisdom of knowing that what happened or didn't happen went exactly as God's plan. It's the understanding of who you are in this new stage and or phase of your life. As we grow and mature as people as well as those of faith, then we start to understand how the harvest really touches our lives. Sometimes we think of harvest only as blessings or answered prayers, but gathering what God grew in you means recognizing that some growth looks like surrender. Some growth looks like strength that you didn't know you had, even when things don't go your way. Maybe this year didn't go as planned for you, or maybe it did. But if it didn't, that's okay. Life can be filled with detours, delays, and with disappointments. Yet, here you are, still standing, still trying, still praying, still believing. That's a harvest, too. Because growth isn't only about gain, it's about depth. When we look at the beautiful trees that are around us, they're not just tall, they're also deep. And because of that, we feel safe and secure under them. When a farmer looks at the land, not every crop ripens the same day. Some fruits mature early, others need just a little bit more time in the sun. The same is true in your spirit. You may not see every prayer answered yet, but when it's time, when it has ripened into the proper resilience, into the proper prayer and faith stance, when it has matured your patience, you will find that you are indeed ready. That's what you gather. That's what you thank God for. So let me ask you this. What have you learned about yourself this year? What have you learned that has surprised you? What did you see God's hand at work with, even if things felt uncertain, but they turned out beautifully? Alrighty, everyone, it is time for us to take a very short break, but when we get back, we will continue this conversation. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Butts Chester. Let's jump back into our conversation. There is a gentle art of gathering. Gathering is intentional, it is slowing down to recognize value. All too often, we gather things in a hurry. We just pick up the next available thing. We don't look at it. We don't make sure about it. We just grab it and go. The times in which we live have not reminded us enough that there are moments made into our lives, stitched into the very fabric of who we are, that give us a moment to slow down and to gather. Now, some of you moms out there, when you go grocery shopping, this is your time to gather. It is a very well planned, some may even say orchestrated event with you. But this is, in fact, one of your safe spaces. While you are still doing something for your family, it also allows you to slow down and gather. Sure, you're looking at the oranges and the apples and the bananas to make sure that they are not bruised or, no little pits in them or any markings, of course. But you're also allowing your mind to operate in a different rhythm. Your breathing changes, your pace changes because you're not in the rat race of work, nor are you in a small or space like at home. In the store, you're able to look around and make your choice, choose what is best. And it gives you a certain feeling. And in that, you find a piece of yourself. Gathering is intentional and it slows down your ability to read, to function, to do, and to be just enough that you recognize the value. It means noticing what's worth keeping and what needs to be released. Be it that you are at a grocery store or you're simply cleaning out your garage. It means noticing what's worth keeping. Do I really need this particular one? Or is it time to release it back into the wild? Is it time to give it to a thrift store and allow someone else to enjoy what I loved about it as well? Has it been gently used and you're able to pass it on to someone else? Or have you consumed all of it and it is now time to give it some love, but also place it in the trash? It means noticing that this may be worth keeping. This may need releasing. The gentle art of gathering is also understanding that not every seed planted was meant to stay with you forever. We have so many plants that come back every year, and many others that do not. In that, we learn that there are some that take more effort, there are some that take less, but it is still about the planting, the harvesting. It is about taking care of each one and appreciating the fruit that it gives, no matter how it chooses to return into our lives or not return into our lives. Gathering isn't just about collecting, it's about sorting. You look at the field and say, this is good fruit. And sometimes you might even say, this one? That one isn't ready yet. Just a little bit more time for that one. There are moments when God calls to you, dear Sparker, to gather lessons from experiences that didn't turn out the way you expected them, but yet God still wants you to grow from them. Maybe in that space, you learned how to love yourself better. Maybe you learned to set boundaries. Maybe you learned that silence is not absence, that God was present even in your waiting. That's the part of your spiritual harvest. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us this way: To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. When we honor the timing of God, we stop striving. We stop reaching, grasping at just any and every old thing, and we start receiving. We stop the poverty striving. Do you understand what I mean by that? We stop the sure, let me just grab a hold of that. Let me just get that. You stop thinking in ways that are poverty boosted, and you start thinking about ways that are abundant boosted. In the abundance of it all, you understand that there is more than enough for you and yours. But when you come from a poverty place, a poverty mindset, then you are thinking, if I don't hurry up and get that thing, then there aren't going to be any more for me. So I'm only striving to get that thing because I don't want to not have a thing. As opposed to, it doesn't matter how long it takes. God has placed me here for this reason to do this particular thing. And if it takes me a little bit longer than everyone else, so be it. That is what God has placed me here for. So there will be one for me when I get there. Start receiving the blessings that God has in store for you. Gathering what God grew in you is really an act of faith. It says, I trust that everything that happens this year has happened with purpose. My dear Sparkers, I want to encourage you. Take time this week to write down what grew in you. Not just your accomplishments, though that is pretty awesome if you have some to talk about, but the spiritual fruits. Have you gained patience, self control, forgiveness, peace, or perhaps you've learned endurance? Whatever it is, what a great thing when you go around the table on Thanksgiving Day or Friendsgiving, or it's just a simple Sunday dinner, and you say what you're grateful, what you're thankful for. A day of Thanksgiving is always a beautiful day. I want to help you understand that letting go of what doesn't grow is perfectly all right. Sometimes we forget that we have permission to do certain things. No one had to give it to you, God's already given it to you. So here is your handy dandy reminder. Some seeds don't take root, and that is okay. God prunes what no longer serves your next season. Release is also part of the harvest process. So many times, again, we think that when we are harvesting, we are simply taking our hands and arms, scooping it all up, and just bringing it all in. While that may be true in some areas of your life, many times part of the harvest is picking out the floating beans. It's picking out the gravel. It's picking out the pieces of bark that don't belong. It is sorting and releasing. It is letting go. Not all of it belongs. Now, when farmers harvest, they don't only gather fruit, they also clear the ground. The soil has to rest before the next planting season. They don't just jump right into it. You don't see one machine gather up all of the harvest and then within a few hours see another machine planting the fresh seed. In fact, if you've ever traveled across this great nation of ours, you on your trip to where you're going, you might see what needs to be harvested. Right? You see all these wonderful lush green, or perhaps some fields have a little bit of color. Perhaps it's white or reds or oranges, or there's these beautiful colors that you see that are indicative of the autumn months. And you see it going. But on your return trip home, it's all gone. It's all been harvested. And that is the way that life is. There are stages and phases to everything. And that's your reminder too. You don't have to carry everything from this year into the next. Maybe there were some relationships that have ended, some dreams that have shifted, plans that have changed. Maybe what you thought was supposed to grow simply didn't. And that is the message that God is trying to give to you. That was not the seed meant for you. And it's okay to say, God, I release that. Let that go. In fact, let it go with a smile. You're not losing, you're making space. Our scripture that can help us better understand is John chapter 15, verse 2. And it says, every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit. God is not punishing you by removing things. He's preparing you so that you can bear more fruit. Now, perhaps you've seen one of those videos on social media and you follow a particular gardener, or maybe they work at your local nursery and they're teaching you how to care for and take care of your plants and your garden. And one of the things that they will tell you is, do you see this leaf right here? This is where we want to start pruning. We want to trim off everything below that stem. We don't need these because this is, in fact, what inhibits the plant from growing taller, more lush, producing more fruit. All of that has a reason. Without doing that, sure, you would still end up with that particular fruit, but it wouldn't be as large, as sweet, as good as it could be. Perhaps you would only get 3 on the vine instead of 5 or 6. The pruning is necessary, though you may not understand at first. But as you do it more and more and start to understand the why, then you see that this is just another step in the process. So let me ask you this. What's something that you've been holding on to that no longer serves you, that you no longer need to take with you? What might God be clearing away to make room for in your life? Something greater. I want to encourage you to breathe throughout your day, not that automatic stuff that you do, but a moment where you sit down and you intentionally pay attention to your breath, that you invest in the beat of your heart, that you take part in the process where peace settles in. You know, there is gratitude in the gatherer. There is gratitude that you can experience. Gratitude opens the heart to alignment. Gratitude reminds us of the things that we have as opposed to the things we do not. You've seen that post on social media that says, take a moment to appreciate where you are today. Remember, it was only a short while ago that you were praying for this. I remember when I prayed to be on the radio. And look, here we are today. Gratitude opens the heart so that you can be in alignment. True thanksgiving isn't circumstantial, it's relational. Having a heart of thanksgiving allows you to see the positive in your life as well as in others. A grateful heart is a ready heart. When you gather what God grew in you, gratitude becomes your harvest song. You begin to thank God not only for what He gave you, but for what He has grown inside of you. Your maturity, your humility, your grace. Thankfulness shifts your focus from what's missing to what's meaningful. That alignment, that readiness, that sense of balance and peace. I want to give you this last scripture for today, and it's Psalm 126, verse 5. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. Your tears have watered something sacred this year. Now, as you start to gather all that God has grown within you, I hope that you will recognize that even your struggles became the soil for your strength. So before you rush into the next season, take this week to notice your harvest. Thank God for your inner growth, for your healing, for your clarity, for your patience, and for the faith that didn't break. Because God has grown something in you this year, and it wasn't small. It is in preparation for what's going to be your next season. Thank you, everyone, for spending some time with me here today. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to spend it with me, and I thank you for doing so. I hope that I have once again enlightened, inspired, and empowered you. As always, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.